Hello everyone, welcome. I'm doing this on IG Live, but I will be putting it on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching this from my YouTube channel, welcome. And hi everyone, welcome. I'm excited to see everyone today. I don't know about you guys, but it's been pretty intense, and I'm feeling like these next 2 months are going to be really transformational, and huge shifts are going to be happening for so many of us these next 2 months. I feel like what's going to be asked of us is to really step deeper into why we're here and what we're really doing here. And that's part of my purpose for getting on today and doing this IG Live. I wanted to do it as a YouTube, but I missed IG Live, so I'm getting on to do it live and to see everybody. But so the purpose is to really discuss the energy that's happening, this kind of propelling of this force that's kind of moving us and propelling us even deeper into this really awakening and awareness of, holy shit, this is real, this is happening, I'm here for a reason, what is it, how do I do it, what does it all mean? Just that pulling that's kind of happening with so many of us. And I just want to share a bigger picture of what it all looks like, what's happening with so many people, what's happening inside Telos as people are, excuse me, waking up to this really powerful energy that's coming down for so many of us. And there's some amazing things that are happening inside Telos that I want to share with you all so that maybe it'll resonate within you. Things that I'm learning that I didn't know, that I think so many people need to hear, because I think it's going to resonate with you. And it'll be a kind of like a light will turn on, a light bulb will turn on. But first of all, I just want to say, if you're listening to this, there's obviously something you're going to get from it. It's such a time right now to be tender with ourselves. Like, there's so much that we are all going through. Whether you're doing your work or not, it doesn't matter. You know, there's a lot of people that are doing their work without realizing they're doing their work, okay? Meaning, I had a client yesterday that was a first wave volunteer. And Sam, I know you're listening to this, so you know all about Dolores Cannon, but there are 3 waves of volunteers that most recently came down onto the planet. There are millions of light workers on the planet doing work here, but there are really specific individual beings that came down most recently in the last 80 years to do really powerful sort of lightning bolt work quickly to move the planet into this ascension, because it was going in a direction where it looked like it might not happen around between the 20s and 40s, 1920, 1940 time frame. And so all these volunteers from all over the universe, whatever you want to call it, raised their hands and came down. And so the first wave came down in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and somewhere in that time frame. And their main purpose was to hold the frequencies on the planet through their bodies. And so this individual was in Telos yesterday, and it was fascinating because she instantaneously was vibrating at this really high frequency. And I was like, this is weird. She's instantly in her body, and she's instantly vibrating this really powerful frequency that's not normal. And so what Adama ended up telling us was that she's a first waver, and that since she was born, a baby, okay, she started pulling in the frequencies for the planet. she's probably, I don't know how old she is, maybe in her 50s right now, and she still had no idea what she was doing. She had no idea that she had been doing this light work her entire life. And so she was wanting to know her purpose. That's why she came in to tell us, what's my purpose? What am I doing here? I want to start doing my purpose work, right? And we came out of it realizing that intuitively she knew she was doing her work because she was in a group called 144,000 Volunteers Meditation or something. Well, the 144,000 volunteers are the ones that came down during that time and had a very specific, very powerful purpose. And so she became aware that she had always been doing this work. Always. And she didn't know it. And she didn't need to know it. And so the purpose of that story, the reason I'm sharing that story with all of you is because so many of us are so dead set on, what's my work? What am I here to do? I'm not doing it. I'm not being of service. I'm not getting paid for my work, right? All these people are doing these things and serving, and I'm not doing anything. And here's this amazing woman that has literally shifted the frequency of the planet since she was a baby without knowing it. And the work of these light workers, the sad thing is, or I don't know if it's sad, but kind of, these type of light workers don't get paid, don't have people that come up and say thank you, don't have a service that they're offering. There's nothing that they're getting back to say you're doing an amazing job, right? And so, so if you are in that space of, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything of service. In that headspace, it's okay. Perhaps you're doing it without realizing that you're doing it. And even if you are knowing that you're here for something, and it might not be to hold the frequency, right? It might actually be to be of service. Understand that it is divine. And I know that there's a lot of people that, and myself included, don't like that word, divine timing, divine timing, divine timing. I can't explain to you how perfect divine timing is for purpose work. Because as I am bringing people through Telos, and the main reason people come to Telos, I would say the number one reason people come in is they want to know what they're here to do. And they want to remember who they are. And so as I've been taking people through, it's very interesting because your work, what you're here to do is huge, okay? And even this woman last night, it's a huge piece of work she's doing, right? It's a lot. It's like your mind, it goes bonkers. It can't understand it, right? But if you're in there in Telos and you brought yourself in, then you're ready to hear it, okay? You're ready. But it's a lot. It can kind of make you go crazy because it's like, well, what am I supposed to do with all that information? And so when you're ready to hear what you're here to do, a lot of times it's too much. You're not even close to really doing what you contracted to do on this planet. And so it's baby steps, right? It's like, okay, what's first in front of me? Okay, what am I doing right now? What does it look like in this moment that I'm doing? And if it's that you're still in a corporate job, but you have your eyes set on doing something else, then you just keep moving towards that. If you're already doing your purpose work and you know that it's bigger, you know that there's so much more to it, you just keep moving step by step to it. I remember Dolores Cannon saying in a video, she said, and this is exactly what it's like. She said, people don't understand. When they ask for their purpose work, they want to know what they're here to do. It's a trick, right? Because it's like, so she described it as, it's like you're in kindergarten and all of a sudden you walk into a classroom in a senior year in high school, chemistry or something. And you've just been in kindergarten for 6 months. And now all of a sudden you're in a class of seniors learning about chemistry and you're looking around like, how the F am I going to start doing this? I don't even know what that symbol means, right? That's what happens when you find out what your purpose work is. For many of us, it is a holy shit, are you joking? What does that mean? Now what do I do? And so if you ask for it and you're prepared for it and you're in telos receiving the information of what you're here to do, then you have to have this trust and this understanding that, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to see this big picture, but now how do I get there? And then that's when major trust and surrender come in. Because there is no way you're going to get there and you're in 6 months or in a year or in 2 years, right? So now you're in a position of, okay, great. Now you know what you're here to do. And I'm talking about really powerful, amazing, mind-blowing things. And here's another thing. Let me just skip to another experience. A lot of times when people are called into telos, it's because they've lived lifetimes on Lemuria. And when we were in Lemurian, that civilization, we were living in a higher frequency. We were living in a higher dimension. We were connected to our I am presence and our higher self. We were connected to all the star beings were out there. We knew exactly where we came from. We knew exactly what we were doing on the planet. And we had all these gifts. We had so many amazing gifts that we were serving the continent and the planet with, and the beings that we interacted with on this continent. And this goes for Atlantis and any other continent at this time, right? And so people are being drawn back into telos to experience themselves as the Lemurian. They're literally shown themselves as the Lemurian that they were, doing the work they did. It's mind-blowing. I don't know how it works. It's mind-blowing. And they're shown what they did. And the reason they're shown this is because that is exactly what they're going to be doing out there being here on the planet right now. And it's magical. It's magical because it's not easy. So you're looking at yourself 15,000 years ago, watching yourself doing these amazing things, knowing that that's exactly already within you and that you're going to be doing them now, but you're not doing it. Perhaps you're not even close to doing it, but it is the exact reason why you're on the planet. You have to surrender. You have to trust. You have to say, I know nothing at all so that I can start to know everything. I surrender and give up all of my control so that I can start to do what I came down here to do. And it allows us to begin to live even more in this multidimensional component of who we are, which means as we are ascending and as the planet is ascending, we are shifting into how we experience the world, how we live with people, with ourselves. And when you start to open up to what you're really here to do and your purpose, your divine blueprint that's in your cells, you are called into surrender, to not know anything, to stay present, to trust that it's in your cells, that it's literally in your cells. And as your cells wake up, your gifts wake up. And as your gifts wake up, you start to do what you're here to do. If 2 years ago someone said to me, Lori, you're going to be guiding people into this city within Mount Shasta that you can't walk into. It's all through etheric body and your multidimensional body. And you're going to be bringing people into their, their higher selves and their gifts and their this, star beings, all this crap. If someone said that to me 2 years ago, I would have literally been frozen. And then all I would have been thinking about was, how do I do that? How do I do that? How do I do that? Where are the books? What do I read? How do I do that? Who's doing that? Who can I watch? Who's going to teach me? Right? Thank God I didn't know that, because that's the curse. That's the blessing and the curse in finding out what your work is, what you're here to do. The blessing is, okay, I know I'm here for something huge. Thank you. Now I know. The curse is, how the hell are you going to do it? And I'm telling you, 99.9% of the individuals that go into Telos and find out what they're here to do, what they're really here to do, what their purpose is, what their mission is, what the contract is they signed to come in, they're blown away. It's too much. They don't know. It's like, now what do I do? And so you're brought back into a very fifth dimensional way of living, which is staying present in the moment that you're in right now. What is being presented to you? What are you doing? Are you doing sound healing? Then that's all you're supposed to be doing until something else opens up. Are you working at a corporate job? Then that's all you're supposed to be doing until something opens up, right? And there is absolutely nobody, if you get nothing from this message, get this. There is absolutely not one person on the planet that can tell you how you are going to be doing your work. Not one person. Nobody can teach you. Nobody can show you. Nobody can guide you. Nobody. And that's the hardest part, because you are left with deeply understanding that it is within your cells. It is within you. And there is nobody that's going to show you. There is nobody that's going to guide you. Now, when you need a mentor to kind of, keep you on the straight and narrow, kind of keep you focused, teachers that can kind of remind you of like information that's out there and, bring you back to center, bring you back to your alignment. That's different. That's totally different. No one's going to say to you, hey, this is what you're here to do, and here's how you're going to do it. That's not going to happen. It's innate. It's inside. It's alive, and it starts to turn on, right? And then as it turns on, it's like, holy shit, here are these gifts that I'm here to do. And what you'll notice, and what people notice, is that, if you talk to anybody that's really doing their work, even the light, even the individuals that are here to just hold light or to do grid work, right? It's very unique. How they do it is unique, not like anybody else. The techniques they use are unique. It's not like anybody else. And the problem with that, the problem with our society that we live in as a whole, is that we are used to following. We are used to just going with the flow. What's everybody else doing? What does the collective consciousness move? What are they moving towards? What is popular? What is, and that's comfortable for us. And so as you step into what you're here to do, it's the voice within, it's the connection to higher self, and it's the understanding that you are so, 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 so unique that it is not going to be like anybody else. It might be similar. It might be close to somebody else, but it's damn unique. And so now I'm hearing, okay, so the question's coming in. What if you don't know what you're here to do? You haven't gone into Telos. You don't really have a desire to go into Telos, but you want to know what you're here to do. You just don't know what to do. You're kind of in limbo, right? The only thing I can say is begin to ask. Begin to ask for clarity. Begin to ask for the next step. How can I best serve today, right? How can I best serve today? What can I do today to serve? How can I get into alignment with my purpose? Write it out, write it down, put a sticky note up. I am doing my work. I am connecting to my divine blueprint. And what you don't want to do is push, right? We don't want to push. And that's with anything in life. You don't want to, if you're pushing for anything, if you're pushing for anything to happen, for anything to occur, you're going against the flow of energy. You're going against the flow of how everything moves in the universe. So if you're pushing for something to happen, just stop. You're wasting your energy. You might have to sit for days, but it's better than wasting energy pushing for something that's not meant to be. So if you find and that's different than sitting down and doing what you know you need to do, like a website or, putting a contract together or writing a piece to share. That's different. That's not a pushing. That's I need to get to work. So that's different than pushing. That pushing feeling is like you're pushing against resistance. It's like something's stopping you and you're saying, no, I'm going anyways. No, I'm doing it anyways. But something's stopping you. Something's not feeling right. It's not easy. And once you let go and you start to just stay present, which is very uncomfortable, right? Right? You let go and you stay present and you just ask, the doors will start to open. But it's very uncomfortable because it takes a lot of surrender, a lot of trust, a lot of faith. It's funny. I picked a card. From the Telos deck, and it said, it's from Adama, and it said, when you put yourself into a state of total trust, the universe responds and starts providing immediately. And I mean, this is what he says, and I mean total trust, not a cocktail of trust and fear. And so I was just talking to my bestest of best friends today, and we were talking about fear and what fear is here to show us. And fear is huge in surrendering to what you're here to do, because fear is here to protect us. Fear is here to show us what limiting beliefs we have about ourselves. Fear is here to show us what we don't love about ourselves. Fear is here to show us just how big we are, just how huge we are. And this brings me to another point, which is when we start to understand who we are. And listen, I'm very three-dimensional as well. I'm very much in my life. I'm very much in my fear and in my anxieties and in my worries. I'm in all of that. And I'm also very, very, very aware of what's going on and who we are, and that it is way bigger than what we understand. And so when people start to come into Telos and understand who they are and understand how big they are, and understand the purpose they're here to do, the shift they're here to make for humanity and the planet, it can be very overwhelming, and fear can come in. Fear can start to squash your ideas, your beliefs, your wants, your desires, your truth. Fear will come in and say, you're not that big. Fear will come in and say, you can't do that, right? And that's just a part of being a human being and having those limiting beliefs, and also really starting to understand that there's parts of yourself that still need deep love, right? And being worthy of that. Worthiness is a huge part of really opening up to how big you are. If you're listening to this, you have a huge purpose for being on the planet. And it can be that you are a teacher in kindergarten, holding down some high-ass frequencies of light, reminding everybody of who they are. I said to the woman yesterday, the first wave of volunteer, I said, you don't have any idea that if it weren't for you and all the other volunteers that came down at that time, we would not be sitting here right now ascending. You not even knowing what you did shifted the planet. And if it wasn't for you coming down, raising your energetic hand from whatever star system you were from, which, by the way, she was from a very far, far away star system, very close to source. If you didn't say yes and come down here and live through the hell that you lived through, the trauma that you lived through, the torture that you lived through, the fears, the pains, the shit that you went through in this lifetime, if you didn't commit to that and do that, the planet would not be where it's at today. And that is a truth. That is an absolute truth. And so we don't give ourselves the credit because we can't see it. We can't see what we're doing on the planet. We can't see the energy. We can't feel the energy. We can't. So we don't understand how huge we are. We don't understand how big we are. We don't understand how important we are. Whether you're doing your work right now or not, you're on the goddamn planet. You're on the planet. You volunteered. You came down and you went through hell. Okay? Some of us have only had a couple lifetimes. Some of us have had thousands of lifetimes. coming back over and over and over again. So when you're going through this whole opening up of who am I? What am I here to do? You know, I'm not doing my work. All these people are doing everything and I'm not doing it, right? When we get into that ego, when we get into that space, stop yourself for a moment. Connect to the part of you that volunteered for your ass to be here at this time. That is not a false statement. That is the truest thing you could hear right now. Is that you volunteered and you came down and you're here. You're here right now. Your feet are on the ground and you're beginning to move through, peel back layers of being a freaking human being, a third dimensional human being, so that you can start opening up to who you are. It's extremely challenging. It's extremely difficult. It's not easy at all. I don't know if anybody says it is, they're lying. They're crazy. When you're in telos and you're in that space of understanding your multidimensional self, you feel it, you see it, you're aligned with it, and then you understand that that is what you're integrating into this, you start to understand how challenging and really what we're doing here. It's quite the ordeal. It's quite the commitment that we made. Let me see if I forgot anything. The gifts. One other thing I wanted to share, because maybe there's somebody on here that's going to resonate with this. I had a client a couple weeks ago come into Telos. She was really, really depressed, and she's had a really, really hard life. And she went into Telos, and we both learned something pretty fascinating, and it's this. There are Lemurians inside Telos that have incarnated in this lifetime, just this lifetime, have incarnated into a body to participate in the ascension out here. And this is the first time I've heard of this. This is the first time I've had somebody come into Telos where this happened. This was all new information. I was blown away. And the purpose was for, they've been around for 15, 16, 17,000 years inside this mountain and inside other places. They're not just in Telos, right? Holding these frequencies down for us, but inside. And so what's happening is, for whatever reason, I don't know, they've been given the opportunity to incarnate out there and come into bodies and to participate out there, if that's what they want to do, if they choose to do that. And there have been Lemurians that have done that. And this woman was one of them. And she was in a lot of pain. All she wanted to do was go back to Telos, go back to Lemuria. She wanted out of her life. She wanted out of this experience. And it was really painful. It was really sad because, she was lost. And then once she found out what was really happening, it was even almost more difficult because she couldn't go back in, she couldn't go back into Telos. And so she just had to hold this understanding and this remembering of what she's doing out here, and make it the best life that she could make it going forward. But yeah, so these Lemurians are coming out, participating on the planet in bodies, only this lifetime. Well, that's all I've been shown. Perhaps they've been around a couple other lifetimes. Perhaps they've reincarnated, but it's just recent. It's very recent that they've come out. I mean, I don't know why the hell they would come out. I wouldn't come out if I was inside Telos. I mean, Jesus, are you kidding me? Hell no. No. So that happened. That was pretty cool. Okay, and one more story, and then I'm gonna go. So this last story is really awesome. So this woman needed to understand, for whatever reason, everybody has their own needs when they go into Telos. This woman really needed to understand. She volunteered. So she was having a hard time, and this isn't anything that she knows consciously. A lot of times this is all very unconscious. Lot of times it's unconscious. 90% of the time what you learn in Telos is unconscious. me, including everybody thinking that they are embodying their light or embodied or, grounded, and they're not. So anyways, this woman really needed to know that she was a volunteer. It needed to be shown to her. And she was an Octurian, this most recent system she came from. So we've lived many different systems, just like we've lived many lifetimes on the planet, and lived in different continents on the planet. We've lived in many different systems out there. Her most recent system she came from the star system onto the planet was the Arcturian star system. So the Arcturians, they're kind of funny. They've got a cute sense of humor. And they took her to, I wish I had a video camera to video what we were shown. They took her to a room. They took her to the room where, and stay with me, don't think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puff, because I'm not. This was real. And this might resonate in your body as real, as truth, because you've been in these rooms. She was taken and shown the room she was in as an Arcturian prior to coming down onto the planet, right? And it was this large room, and it was busy. I mean, there were beings all over the place, right? And they were preparing themselves. They were preparing to come down on the freaking planet. And so everybody was picking out their Akashic records, right? So if you don't have a lot of lifetimes here, and you're coming down, let's just say in the last 100 to 200 years, a lot of times those beings will pick their Akashic records because they don't have enough lifetimes to have the human experience within them. And so they'll pick, right? They'll pick their lives, they'll pick their past lives, they'll pick their families, what are they going to go through? You pick everything. You pick it all. So here she was as an Arcturian, as a light being, picking what her experience was going to be. And getting in this kind of lineup of preparing to go down and to go into this system, the Earth, the planet. And you could feel this busyness and this excitement that everybody had, because it was like they're going, this is happening, and preparing themselves. And in that space, you're as a being of light, you know what you're there to do. It's like you are focused. You are picking it out. And there's so many of you doing it. And these Arcturians that are going to be supporting you, your team is connecting, is preparing you. Your team that is with you the entire, every moment of your lifetimes. That team is connecting and beginning with you back even up there, right? And so everything's happening. This is all like really organized. It's freaking it's organized. And you don't understand as a light being how difficult and how challenging, and you don't understand quite what duality means. You don't understand what it means to have to be in this really dense body, but you know the bigger picture. And that's what this woman needed to see, is this big picture of, holy shit, this is real. I actually was in this room. I don't know if it was an actual physical, dense room. That's what it felt like to us. And I actually picked everything out, planned it all, pulled it within me, grabbed my group, and went in. And that understanding and that truth is pretty big. And it feels like a fairy tale, right? So we go in and out of this awareness all the time. We go in and out of this understanding of that. Because you can't always be in that space. I mean, you can't be walking to the grocery store, picking out your apples and being like, dude, do you know I was an Arcturian and I came down and I picked my Akashic records and I picked, you're not going to, most likely you're not going to be living in that space all the time. But what's going to happen is you're going to stay more connected to that knowingness. You're going to start to stay more, the more you hear these stories, the more you remember, the more you connect to this, the more you're going to stay aligned to that truth, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what breakup you're going through, no matter what pain you're in, no matter what money, financial situation you're in, no matter what kind of move you have to make, what's going on with your children, what's going on with your health, None of that's all great. You're going through it. It's part of why you're here. But at the same time, you're staying connected and you're staying aligned and you're remembering, even if it's just a tiny little piece, you're remembering that room. You're remembering that you came down. And not everyone came down from a room like that, you know. Most people did. And at different times for different reasons. And I mean, I could go on and on and on about all the different people that came, all the different beings that came down, when they came down, why they came down, you know, but I could talk forever about all this. But anyways, that was pretty fascinating, really fascinating. So I think I'm going to just stop there. If you missed any of this, it's going to be on my YouTube channel, Lori of Lemuria. Also, I have a new course that I'm starting November 13th. It's 5 weeks live. We go into some really powerful temples and a really powerful star chamber. And you can find all the information in my bio on Instagram. And if you're on YouTube watching this, you can find it at my website, lorioflemuria.com. I'm really excited about this course, and it's going to be really powerful energy that's coming through right now in Telos. And we're going to dive into these energies and dive into these portals that are being opened and the multi-dimensional aspects of who we are, and just staying connected to that, really staying connected, even through all the human shit we're going through. If we can stay connected even a little bit, that is so precious and that is so important. And that's why Telos is there. I mean, Telos is here for so many reasons, but one of the main reasons is to remind us, to keep us connected just a tiny bit throughout our days as we're struggling to peel back the layers and remember what we're doing here and not beat ourselves up. You know, before I go, one of the things that Adama always says to everybody as they're leaving, one of the many things he says, is to not beat yourselves up, right? To not make it so hard on ourselves. And to remember that we volunteered to be here and that it's hard out there, you know, out there being here where we are. It's hard, it's dense, and it's getting more and more intense, right? And these next 2 months are going to be really powerful transformational months. These next 2 months I'm feeling like are going to really push us. It's really going to stretch you. It's going to ask you to go bigger. It's going to ask you to really step into more of who you are, your light, loving yourself more, trusting yourself more, surrendering more to yourself, going into places that you haven't been within you for years, you know, and really starting to become who we're here to become. And it's asking a lot. And so these next 2 months preparing us for the new year is going to be stretching, is going to be trusting. It's going to be a lot of fear, and moving through that fear, and continuing to keep going, to trust, to let the layers peel back, you know, and dive into you. So anyways, thank you all for being here. I love you all so much. I guess that's it. It felt so good to speak about all of this. It's all been building up. So anyways, it was wonderful. And you can find all my information in my bio. You can find all my information down below if you're on YouTube. And I love you all so much. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget that you volunteered. Don't forget who's around you, all your guides. And don't forget how amazing you are. Have a great rest of your day. Love you all so much. Bye.